It weighs more than 400 metric tons. It stretches longer than 4 Boeing 737s lined up nose to tail. And it accelerates from a complete standstill to over 400 kilometers per hour, faster than most private aircraft take off, in just a few minutes, while carrying more than 1,000 passengers in near-perfect silence. But here's what most people never realize. Building a single one of these machines requires more precision engineering than sending a satellite into orbit. And yet, somewhere in the world right now, one is being assembled, one weld at a time. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how it's made. High-speed rail is one of the most quietly transformative technologies on the planet. Right now, more than 4 billion passenger journeys take place on high-speed rail networks every single year, a number that surpasses the entire global aviation industry. The global high-speed rail market is worth over $200 billion annually, and it is growing faster than any other form of mass transportation. Countries are spending hundreds of billions to build new lines, upgrade existing infrastructure, and secure the next generation of trains that can push the boundaries of what physics allows.
The reason is simple. A train traveling at 400 kilometers per hour can connect cities 300 kilometers apart in under an hour, without airport security, without baggage fees, without the carbon footprint of a commercial flight. But manufacturing a machine capable of doing this reliably, safely, and thousands of times a year is an engineering problem so complex that only a handful of organizations on Earth can solve it. This is the story of how they do it. Everything begins not in a factory, but in a mine. The backbone of a modern high-speed train is steel, but not just any steel. The structural frames of the train cars, the bogie frames that carry the wheels, and the load-bearing undercarriage all require specialized high-strength steel alloys that must simultaneously be tough enough to handle impacts, flexible enough to absorb vibration, and light enough not to kill the train's power-to-weight ratio. The primary alloys used in high-speed rail manufacturing contain iron, carbon, manganese, silicon, chromium, and in some cases vanadium and niobium, trace elements that dramatically increase tensile strength without adding significant weight.
These raw materials are mined in Australia, Brazil, South Africa, and Canada, refined into steel at integrated mills, then rolled into plates, tubes, extrusions, and structural sections that are shipped to manufacturing facilities, sometimes thousands of kilometers away. A single high-speed train set, typically 8 to 16 cars linked together, requires approximately 800 metric tons of raw steel before any machining or fabrication begins. That is enough steel to build 250 average family cars. But before that steel ever reaches a welding torch, one of the most critical manufacturing decisions has already been made: the choice of carbody material. Here is where modern high-speed train design splits into two philosophies. The older approach uses steel for the structural shell of each car: heavy, strong, proven. The newer approach, increasingly dominant for the fastest trains, uses extruded aluminum alloy profiles for the outer car body, while reserving high-strength steel for the undercarriage and bogies. Aluminum alloy car bodies can reduce the weight of each car by up to 30% compared to a steel equivalent. At 400 kilometers per hour, that weight reduction translates directly into lower energy consumption, reduced wear on the track, and the ability to accelerate and brake more aggressively. The aluminum profiles used, typically alloys from the 6000 and 7000 series, containing magnesium, silicon, and zinc, are extruded in sections up to 25 meters long, longer than most factory halls, using presses that apply forces of up to 50,000 metric tons. The resulting profiles are precise to fractions of a millimeter and have a structural efficiency that traditional steel construction simply cannot match. This is where things get interesting. Assembling the car body of a high-speed train is nothing like assembling a car. The aluminum extrusions arrive at the factory pre-formed into the exact cross-sections that make up the floor, the walls, and the roof of each car. These sections must be joined together using friction stir welding,
a process invented in 1991 that is now considered indispensable for high-speed rail manufacturing. In friction stir welding, a rotating tool generates heat through friction between the tool and the material, softening the aluminum just enough for it to be mechanically stirred together without ever reaching the melting point. The result is a weld that is stronger than the base material, with none of the porosity or residual stress that conventional fusion welding introduces. A single carbody requires hundreds of meters of friction stir welds, each one monitored in real time by sensors that measure heat, force, and rotational speed at thousands of data points per second. A single defect, a void smaller than a grain of rice, can be caused to reject the entire section and start again. Once the carbody shell is assembled, it moves to a phase of manufacturing that most people never see. The completed shell, roughly 25 meters long, 3 meters wide, and 4 meters tall, is placed into a computer-controlled jig system that holds it to dimensional tolerances of plus or minus 1 millimeter across its entire length. Why does this matter? Because when you connect 8 or 16 of these shells into a trainset, any dimensional error accumulates and can prevent the inter-car connections from mating correctly, affect the aerodynamic sealing between cars, or create misalignments that generate vibration at high speed. The jig systems used by leading manufacturers are engineering marvels in their own right. Massive steel frames with hundreds of adjustable contact points, each controlled by actuators guided by laser measurement systems that compare the actual geometry of the shell against a master CAD model in real time. If any point is out of tolerance, the jig adjusts until the shell conforms. Only then is it cleared to move to the next stage. However, the next step changes everything. While the carbody is being assembled, an entirely separate and equally complex manufacturing process is underway for the component that actually carries the train, the bogie. A bogie is the wheeled frame underneath each car, the assembly that contains the wheels, axles, suspension, and traction systems. In a high-speed train, the bogie is arguably the most safety-critical component in the entire vehicle. It is subjected to forces that oscillate between compression and tension hundreds of thousands of times per day. The wheel-rail contact point, a patch of metal roughly the size of a coin, transmits all of the traction, braking, and cornering forces between a 400 metric ton train and the track. If a bogie fails at high speed, the results are catastrophic. High-speed bogie frames are fabricated from welded steel box sections, machined to extreme precision, and subjected to a fatigue testing regime that most industrial components never approach. After fabrication, each bogie frame is subjected to non-destructive testing using ultrasonic probes, magnetic particle inspection, and eddy current sensors to detect any internal defects or surface cracks invisible to the naked eye. The frames are then stress-relieved in large furnaces that cycle them through precise temperature profiles to remove internal stresses introduced during welding. After heat treatment, the frames are machined again on CNC machining centers with positional accuracy of 5 microns, less than a tenth of the width of a human hair, to ensure that the wheel axle bearing housings, suspension mount points, and motor attachment interfaces are all exactly where they need to be. The completed bogie frames are then assembled with axles, wheels, bearings, primary suspension springs, secondary suspension airbags, brake discs, and either traction motors or braking systems, depending on whether the bogie is a powered unit or a trailer. Most people never realize what happens to the wheels before they are fitted. High-speed train wheels are not simply bolted onto axles. They are press-fit, forced onto the axle under controlled hydraulic pressure that can reach several hundred tons, creating an interference fit that is effectively permanent under normal operating conditions. The wheels themselves are forged from solid steel billets, machined to their final profile on wheel lathes, then ultrasonically inspected for internal defects. The wheel profile, the precise curved cross-section that contacts the rail, is machined to a geometry specified to tenths of a millimeter, because the wheel profile determines the self-centering behavior of the wheel set on the track. Get the profile wrong, and the wheel set will hunt, oscillating from side to side at high speed, generating vibrations that passengers feel and that, beyond certain speeds, can become dynamically unstable. At this point, one tiny mistake could affect every kilometer this train will ever travel, which is why the assembly of the power system is handled with an almost surgical level of precision. The propulsion system in a modern high-speed train is based on three-phase AC traction motors driving the axles through either direct drives or gearboxes. The traction motors used in the fastest trains today are permanent magnet synchronous motors, similar in principle to the motors in electric cars, but operating at power levels of several hundred kilowatts per motor in an environment subjected to vibration, temperature extremes, and electromagnetic interference from the overhead power lines. The permanent magnets in these motors, made from neodymium iron boron, one of the most powerful magnetic materials on Earth, are sourced primarily from China, which controls over 80% of global rare earth production. A single train set of 8 cars may contain more than 30 traction motors, each one assembled in cleanroom conditions and tested individually before installation. The power that drives these motors comes from the overhead catenary line, typically at 25,000 volts alternating current, collected by the pantograph, the articulated arm on the roof of the train that presses against the wire. The pantograph itself is an extraordinary piece of precision engineering. It must maintain contact with the wire at forces of between 60 and 120 newtons, regardless of the train's speed, the condition of the wire, or crosswinds up to 300 kilometers per hour. At 400 kilometers per hour, the pantograph head passes a single point on the wire in less than 9 milliseconds. Any interruption in contact, any arc, any bounce, sends a voltage spike through the train's electrical systems. Any interruption in contact, any arc, any bounce, sends a voltage spike through the train's electrical systems. The contact strip on the pantograph, made from a copper-carbon composite, wears down at a measurable rate and must be replaced at regular maintenance intervals, leaving a permanent record of every kilometer the train has traveled engraved in its own surface. Now, for the most impressive part of this entire manufacturing process, the thing that separates the truly elite high-speed trains from everything else is aerodynamics, specifically the nose. The nose of a high-speed train is not just a cosmetic feature. At 400 kilometers per hour, aerodynamic drag accounts for over 80% of the train's total resistance. The shape of the nose determines not only how much power the train needs to maintain top speed, but also the pressure wave it generates when entering a tunnel. In Japan, where the Shinkansen network passes through hundreds of tunnels, the sonic boom generated when a blunt-nosed train enters a confined tunnel was literally audible for kilometers around the exit, a problem known as tunnel boom. The solution was one of the most celebrated examples of biomimetic engineering in history. The nose of the Shinkansen 500 series was modeled on the beak of the kingfisher, a bird that can dive from air into water with almost no splash because of its perfectly tapered, pressure-equalizing bill shape. The result reduced tunnel boom by 30% and cut energy consumption by 15% simultaneously. Today's nose designs are developed through computational fluid dynamics simulations running on supercomputers, validated in full-scale wind tunnels, and refined through iterative physical testing. The nose sections themselves are manufactured using fiberglass-reinforced composites and carbon fiber panels, formed in precision molds, assembled by hand in some cases, and painted with coatings that must maintain their aerodynamic surface smoothness within fractions of a millimeter for the entire service life of the train. The final shape is so precisely engineered that even the rubber seals around windows and doors are specified to aerodynamic tolerances. A single panel that is 1 millimeter proud of its neighbors is enough to generate measurable additional drag at operating speed. Here are the facts that reveal just how extraordinary this manufacturing process truly is. A single high-speed train set contains approximately 1 million individual components. The wiring harness alone, the network of cables carrying power, signals, and data throughout the train, stretches for more than 40 kilometers if laid end to end. The paint applied to the exterior must withstand the equivalent of a sandblasting effect at 400 kilometers per hour from insects, dust, and rain, and must retain its gloss for at least 15 years. The windows of a high-speed train are not glass. They are laminated polycarbonate and tempered glass composites bonded into the car body with structural adhesives, pressure tested to withstand the dynamic pressure differentials generated when two trains pass each other at combined closing speeds of 800 kilometers per hour. The air conditioning system must maintain a comfortable cabin environment while the train passes through tunnels where the air pressure changes by thousands of pascals in seconds. The braking system, which combines regenerative electrical braking, eddy current track brakes, and traditional friction disc brakes, must be capable of bringing a train from full speed to a complete stop within a specified distance, even if one of the three braking systems fails entirely. Before any of this reaches a passenger, it goes through a testing regime of staggering intensity. The completed train set undergoes static load tests, where the entire car body is subjected to compressive and bending forces far exceeding anything it will ever experience in service, while hundreds of strain gauges measure the response of every structural member.
It then undergoes roller rig testing, where the bogies run on powered rollers that simulate thousands of kilometers of track at full speed in a controlled environment. Only then does it go onto a test track, where it accumulates at minimum several 100,000 kilometers of test running before revenue service begins. During this phase, every system is monitored by a data acquisition system, collecting thousands of channels of data simultaneously. Vibration, temperature, electrical current, pantograph force, wheel-rail forces, all of it analyzed to detect any anomaly before it becomes a problem in service. The global scale of high-speed train manufacturing is itself remarkable. China operates the largest high-speed rail network on Earth, more than 45,000 kilometers of track, and manufactures its trains domestically through CRRC, the largest rolling stock manufacturer in the world by revenue. Japan's Shinkansen network, which pioneered high-speed rail in 1964, is the safest transportation system in human history. 0 passenger fatalities in over 60 years of operation and more than 10 billion journeys.
Europe's high-speed network connects more than 30 countries through a patchwork of standards, and manufacturers like Alstom, Siemens, and Hitachi compete fiercely for contracts worth billions of kilometers per hour. The next frontier is pushing speeds further still. China has tested maglev trains exceeding 600 kilometers per hour on dedicated test tracks, while Hyperloop concepts attempt to take the same aerodynamic principles into near-vacuum tubes. But for the next decade, the wheel-on-rail high-speed train, refined to a level of engineering perfection that its 1964 pioneers could not have imagined, remains the dominant technology for moving people between cities faster than anything else on the ground. From iron ore in an Australian mine to a finished train set delivering 1,000 passengers silently and precisely to their destination at 400 kilometers per hour, this is what the relentless pursuit of engineering perfection looks like in practice. Millions of welds, billions of data points, decades of accumulated knowledge, and an obsession with tolerances measured in microns, all in service of the experience of simply stepping on board, sitting down, and watching the world blur past the window.
What other engineering marvels should we break down next? Leave your suggestion in the comments, and if this video made you look at the train differently, a like and a subscription helps us keep going deeper into the machines that move the world.